Hello, my name's Keith and I'm known as the Florida Stone Man. And today I'm going to be talking to you all about surrendering your problems to the Lord. This comes from 1 Peter 5:7. It's basically you cast your anxieties unto the Lord. And I'm going to tie this in heavily with the Bible. Complaining hurts you. Complaining really hurts you. I'm going to be honest. The people who get rewarded the absolute most are people who can take it and not say anything. So when you take the absolute most that life has to throw at you and you just kind of shut up about it, it's painful. That's why you're supposed to pass to Jesus. But when something happens that it's not in your favor, that you don't like, you don't react to it. For every action comes a reaction. And you have to ask yourself, for example, I'm going to use the drone show, traffic. That was a level of chaos that was just out of this world. People were going the wrong way down the street because a police officer said go that way, and they were directing people down a street that you couldn't drive down, and people were trying to come out of the street, and they told people to go down, go south, go north, go south again, and the people were getting frustrated and angry, and they were driving like crazy, and it felt like the apocalypse because some spots didn't have cops, and that was kind of nuts too. And people were driving on the wrong side of the street, and people were going haywire, and people were trying to hit each other with cars. And at that point, I was sitting in traffic in the drone show traffic, and I started praying. I'm like, Lord, I didn't get upset, I didn't get angry. People were yelling and screaming. Cops were yelling and screaming at people. The cops were pretty nasty, and when they were yelling, I just looked at them. I'm like, because that's what you're supposed to do when people go off on you. You're supposed to look at them like, they'll think you're nuts. It actually always works. If you start yelling back, they'll go into it because that's what they want. Now, if you don't complain when you're going through all this stuff, you're greatly rewarded. You know what happens sometimes is people will get a blessing, but before they get the blessing, they complain to God so much. But the people who don't complain when they get a blessing, the blessing doesn't contain any obstacles. Think about what I just said, please. So you get a blessing, but you complain so much, you're just the whole time, because us humans are very, very emotional creatures. So look at Israel in the Bible complains. It's debatable. They said, it's 11, it's 12, it's 13, it's 14, it's 15, it's 16. Technically, it's 16 if you read the whole Bible. People say 15 because, that didn't count as... Yes, it did. So basically, Israel kept complaining. God gave them the promised lands. They were starving. They were literally starving and thirsty in the desert. And God let them starve and thirst to a point until he provided. So there was manna and water that came from a rock, but they were really hungry before that. So they were really hurting before that. Now, if Israel didn't complain at all, will they have to wait as long? They might have to have waited longer because, like I said, forever. Reaction is reaction. So if you're trying to get more help from the Lord, then pray more. That's when you'll pray more, because you can't just pray, but then you'll act more too. You'll change what you're doing. You'll make things according, because people think when they complain more, God answers their prayers more. No, basically God will react more when you act, but your complaint is a prayer, but it's a mean prayer. So for people who just look around and they can just take a whole bunch of emotional, mental, etc. damage from whatever, because you can have a planet not in your favor, etc. But when you're someone who's just going through it and you give it to the Lord, you get extra points. You get a blessing that does not contain obstacles. I'll give you another example from the Bible. Basically, God gave Israel the promised lands after he killed off most of the complainers. God does not like complainers, especially the Father. If you complain to the Father does not like it. You complain to the Father, he'll take away, I don't even want to say it. I'm not going to say it because it's not fun. I just won't. People want to go to the Father versus the Son first. You complain once to the Father, and you reach twice or 3 times, and the Father has no tolerance for that. I don't want to say it. I really don't want to say it. You complain to the Son about where you're living, for example, the Son will start making changes. Jesus is God, John 10:30. You complain to the Father about where you're living, he'll kick you out. He'll burn the place down. I'm not joking. For the Lord God is a consuming fire. I mean, you have to address the Father properly. The Father is very holy, so when people insult the Father, well... So, back to my point. You pray to the Son, and you're going to get more mercy. Now, when people are really going through it, your first reaction is to complain. Number one, if you prayed... I'm getting another thing that popped in my head from the Bible. Basically, Israel in the Bible, when they were under Egypt, basically slaves, they were complaining for a long time. A long time. And God himself said it back then. He said, I see it's not right for my people to go through that. I'm making some changes, but you guys have to wait. Because if a change comes too fast, it could come before it's ripe. If you eat a tomato when it's green, it's sour, and you spit it out and it's disgusting. So, you have to understand that the better you are at not complaining, like, take your tongue and bite it. Don't bite it harder. Because some people are like, well, they're at a certain age, they're hurting or whatever. Calm it down and give it to the Lord. So, we never hear about Jesus complaining about dying on the cross ever, do we? You know, if I was Jesus and I died on the cross, I'd complain about every second of it. I'm not even joking. Everyone would, actually. I think every human would. The nails going through the hands. Oh, it hurt so bad. You never heard Jesus say that. Oh, because I'm going to go into some details. No one knows how excruciating it was on the cross. Oh, your leg is getting tired. I sit in one of a chair or whatever, and my leg will go numb if I sit on top of it for too long. Imagine being on a cross. You think numbness is the only thing that's going to come to your legs? The blood. You have to use the bathroom. Number one. Number two, the smell. When people complain about a fart, that was the smell of death. Literally, the spirit of death was around him at the time. So, what about, you got a scratch on your head? Like that? I mean, people complain about a sneeze not being able to come out. Imagine being on the cross and you have to sneeze and there's nails in your hands and feet. What if you have an itch? Like, just think about the small little things that people complain about. He didn't complain about any of it. Not having to carry it, not being hungry, not being thirsty, not people laughing, not people making fun of him, not seeing his mom. Jesus really, 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 really went through it. So, when you're going through something, just be like, okay, well, this really doesn't compare to what God had to do on the cross for us. It doesn't. So I'm just gonna shut up. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut up. That's what you guys have to do, is just learn to shut up. I bet you weren't expecting me to say that. You actually save yourself by shutting up. You talk too much, now you're in trouble. When people get mad, for example, I know one person way back then, when they were mad at someone, they felt so much heat and so much pain that they said to their best friend, F you. And then a bunch of other stuff. But they were debating on saying it because they felt so much pain. If that person would have waited, their best friend took off. Never came back. Why am I smelling crayons? I have to interpret that omen later. But basically, the messages of this video is hold it in and send it to Jesus. Be like, Jesus, I'm letting you take care of this. Because if you take care of it, you're outside of God's will and outside of God's favor, and you will always, let's just say, if you're getting punished before, you're getting punished more. Versus if you're getting rewarded, and a reward was coming your way, but you complained, you'll have challenges during that reward. And it'll suck. It won't be a real reward. But it will be measured based on how much you complain. So like I said, as humans, we can never not complain ever. That's just life. We can never not complain. But you can send the complaints to Jesus and just quiet them. You can dim them. If you're not able to put a bonfire out, at least you can muffle it so it's smaller. I'd like you all to pray I call it 1 Peter. It's 1 Peter 5:7, and cast your anxieties unto the Lord. And then you'll say out loud, I cast this anxiety, this burden. For example, if you're complaining, like right now, it's cold. I say to the Lord, I cast my anxieties unto the Lord. I ask for the Lord to help me be more warm in His presence. And I feel more warm. Oh, that's placebo. It's the Lord. Any questions, ask them in the comment section. The more you don't react, the better the reaction. Ciao. God bless all of you. I said ciao. I hit the off button. My fingers are cold, so I didn't react.